a retired soldier, living a quiet, peaceful life. But one night, something happened. Something that forced him to bring back the monster he once buried deep inside. I'm talking about the 2021 action thriller Nobody, a film that many people can't help but compare to John Wick, and honestly, they're not wrong, because after watching it, I felt the same way too. You've probably seen John Wick. You know that story of a calm man pushed too far. Well, Nobody walks a similar path, but with its own wild twist. The first full first-person action film I ever saw. If you haven't watched it yet, trust me, you should. It's pure chaos in the best way possible. Anyway, welcome back, guys. Today, I'm breaking down one of the slickest action thrillers of 2021, Nobody. Let's dive in. The story begins with a man who looks completely ordinary. His name is Hutch Mansell. He lives with his wife, Becca, who's pretty well known in town, and their two kids, Blake, a teenage boy who barely respects his dad, and Sammy, a sweet little girl who absolutely adores him. Hutch's life? It's painfully normal. He works a boring desk job at a manufacturing company, one that just so happens to be owned by his father-in-law, Eddie. Every morning he wakes up, does a few push-ups, goes for a jog, eats breakfast, and heads to work. Same thing, every single day. But beneath that calm, quiet face, there's something off, something buried. He's not the family man people think he is. And the sad truth? His wife barely talks to him anymore. His son thinks he's a loser. Only his little girl still looks at him like he's a hero. That's the life Hutch Mansell is stuck in, a man the world has long stopped noticing. Until one night, everything changes. It's late. Everyone's asleep. And suddenly, two burglars break into their house. But what happens next? That's where Hutch's story truly begins. At that moment, Hutch's son, Blake, grabs one of the robbers and locks him in a tight hold, so tight the guy can't even move. The other robber pulls out a gun, and Hutch has a clear shot. He could have easily taken that guy down. But he doesn't. He lets them go. That split-second decision pisses Blake off even more. His dad had a chance to stop the thieves, and he did nothing. So the robbers walk away, free and unharmed. And that's when things start to spiral. Neighbors start gossiping. Even Hutch's brother-in-law Charlie mocks him for being a coward. Charlie even tosses him a pistol, saying, "You might need this next time, tough guy." Later that night, Hutch sits by his old radio and talks to someone. A man named Harry. We don't know who Harry really is yet, but something about their conversation feels classified. Hutch admits he could have killed the burglar if he wanted to, but then he realizes the revolver he was holding that night wasn't even loaded. He had the chance. He had the weapon. But deep down, he chose to let them go. Days pass. Hutch goes back to his dull, routine life, working at his father-in-law's office, eating dinner in silence, ignored by his wife, disrespected by his son. The only person who still truly loves him is his little girl, Sammy. But then one morning, Sammy tells him something that flips a switch inside him. Her favorite bracelet is missing, stolen, and Hutch immediately knows who did it. The robbers from that night. That's it. Something inside him snaps. This time, he's not just a quiet family man. He's a man on a mission. Hutch suits up, determination burning in his eyes. His wife watches him leave with a strange look, like she knows exactly who he really is and what he's capable of. Hutch heads out, tracks down his father, David, a former FBI agent. He takes his father's old ID badge, his access pass to the world he once left behind, and sets off. He starts hunting, searching every corner, every clue, until he spots something, a tattoo on one of the robber's hands. And from that moment on, the quiet man everyone underestimated starts to wake up. That's why Hutch ends up at a sketchy tattoo parlor, looking for answers. He walks in calm, collected, but the tension in the room is thick. The guys inside quickly realize that the ID Hutch is carrying isn't actually his. In seconds, they surround him. Hutch pulls out some cash, trying to get their help identifying the thief, the one with that specific tattoo on his hand. But before anyone can react, one of the men notices a tiny tattoo on Hutch's wrist, and his whole face changes. Without saying a word, the guy panics and bolts out the back door. The rest of the shop freezes. That's when it hits them who Hutch really is. Their tone shifts instantly. They stop seeing him as a random customer and start treating him with the respect, or fear, he clearly deserves. And in that moment, we realize Hutch Mansell is not just some ordinary suburban dad. Later, Hutch tracks down the thieves' house. He shows up armed with a revolver, ready to confront them. But once he steps inside, things aren't what he expected. He spots a sick child in the room and learns that these two broke into his house just to pay for the kid's treatment. Then comes the real kicker. He finds out they didn't even steal his daughter's bracelet. Without a word, Hutch lowers his gun and walks away. But inside, he's boiling, frustrated, helpless. He slams his fists against the wall, furious that he couldn't get his little girl's bracelet back. The rage keeps building until fate hands him an outlet. On his way home, Hutch takes the bus. A few drunk, drugged-up punks get on and start harassing a young woman. And right there, the story really begins. Hutch, still burning with anger, quietly tells the driver to step outside. He shuts the bus doors behind him and turns to face the gang. What follows is pure chaos. He doesn't hold back. Every punch, every hit, raw, brutal, and precise. Even though Hutch gets beaten up pretty badly himself, nothing can stop him. He demolishes every one of them. One of the guys, Teddy, barely clings to life, gasping for air. Hutch calmly kneels beside him and jams a pipe down his throat to help him breathe. This wasn't just a fight. It was the moment Hutch Mansell reminded the world exactly who he used to be. Actually, what Hutch did was a medical procedure called a tracheostomy. He had beaten that guy so brutally that the man could barely breathe. So Hutch jammed a tube straight into his throat just so the guy could breathe again. That moment tells us one thing loud and clear. Hutch isn't just some random guy. You don't perform something that complex unless you've had serious training or a very dark past. Later, Hutch goes home, his body covered in blood. But surprisingly, his wife doesn't look all that shocked. It's almost like she's seen him like this before. She quietly helps him clean up. They share a strange calm that night, and soon after, they both fall asleep. Then the story cuts to someone new, Yulian, a big-name Russian mob boss. He owns his own nightclub where he sings, dances, and rules like it's his personal kingdom. That night, a few business partners pull him aside. They warn him that if he keeps partying in public like this, people might stop fearing him. Yulian doesn't take that well. Instead, he decides to remind everyone exactly who he is, by brutally killing one of the men right then and there. Only later does he realize the guy he just murdered was actually one of his company's own shareholders. Yulian's got a personal bodyguard, Pavel, a tall black man. And when people see a black Russian for the first time, it sparks some awkward, confused chatter around the room. Just then, Yulian gets a phone call. He rushes to the hospital, and that's when we find out the real reason behind all this chaos. One of the men Hutch destroyed on that bus earlier was Yulian's own brother, Teddy. Seeing his brother lying there, beaten half to death, Yulian completely loses it. He starts attacking Teddy's surviving friends right there in the hospital room, trying to get answers. And that's when he finds a clue. Among Teddy's belongings is a Metro card, one that leads straight back to the man who started it all, Hutch. The next day, Hutch gets a call from his brother, Harry. He's not happy. He warns Hutch to never pull a stunt like that again, and tells him to go see a guy he knows, a barber. But when Hutch walks into that barber shop, it's not your friendly neighborhood haircut joint. Inside, a group of men dressed head to toe in black suits are waiting for him. They look more like government agents than barbers. They hand Hutch a file, and that's when the truth hits him. The man Hutch beat to a pulp last night. Yeah, that guy was the brother of a notorious mob boss named Yulian. The agents warn Hutch, Yulian will come for revenge. But they also leave behind a bigger mystery. Who are these men? And more importantly, who the hell is Hutch? How does he fight like that? Where did he learn all this? Meanwhile, Yulian isn't wasting any time. He orders his men to find Hutch using every resource he's got, including someone inside the Pentagon. When that person finally pulls up Hutch's file, her face says it all. Shock, fear, complete disbelief. The file reveals Hutch isn't just any suburban dad. He's a ghost from the underworld, someone the government itself fears, a man responsible for countless assassinations, a man whose name still sends chills through the entire city. And when the woman realizes who she's digging up information on, she panics. She packs her things, resigns on the spot, and vanishes without a trace. Now Yulian knows exactly where Hutch lives, and he sends a small army to wipe him out. Back at home, Hutch sits quietly with his family when he notices several cars pulling up outside. His instincts kick in immediately. These aren't visitors, these are killers. He hides his wife and kids in the basement, locking them safely inside. Then he stands alone, waiting. Moments later, the front door bursts open and chaos erupts. Armed men storm the house, guns blazing. But Hutch? He doesn't just fight back, he dominates. One by one, he takes them down, fast, brutal, and efficient. Even with bullets flying, Hutch turns that house into a slaughterhouse. By the time it's over, the walls are soaked in silence, and Julian's men are all dead. But, unfortunately, one of Julian's men knocks Hutch cold with a dredger, stuffs him into a car trunk, and drives off, because Julian wanted him alive. Big mistake. Their biggest one yet. When Hutch regains consciousness, he realizes he's trapped in the trunk. It's dark, tight, and deadly quiet, except for the rumble of the engine. Then he spots something beside him. A fire extinguisher. Without hesitation, Hutch grabs it, sprays it all over inside the car. The driver can't see a damn thing. The car swerves out of control. Crash. The vehicle smashes hard. Everyone inside is either dead or dying. Everyone except Hutch. By some miracle, he crawls out alive. Among the wreckage, one man is still barely breathing. Pavel, Julian's bodyguard, the tall, strong black guy we saw earlier. Gasping for air, Pavel looks at Hutch and asks, Who are you? Hutch pauses. Then he starts talking. Not to Pavel, not really, but to himself. About who he used to be. They called him the Auditor. He worked for a top-secret intelligence agency. When the government couldn't handle a job, when they needed someone to take out the kind of people no one else could touch, they sent Hutch. He was the man who made the impossible disappear. The guy who erased monsters from the world, quietly, efficiently, permanently. As Hutch talks, he glances back. Pavel's gone. Dead. Hutch doesn't flinch. He walks home, straight into the chaos. His house is torn apart, bodies everywhere. He heads down to the basement, frees his family, and sends his wife and kids to a safe place. Then, in eerie silence, he arranges the dead men's bodies on the living room couch, like guests who overstayed their welcome. And finally, he spots it. His daughter's bracelet, the one he thought was stolen, it was here the whole time. He takes a deep breath. All that blood, all that chaos, for nothing. Then he notices one man still alive, barely. Hutch sits beside him, calm as ever, and starts talking again. Another story, another mission. There was once a man who stole millions from a U.S. government fund, money meant for something far bigger than himself. The agency couldn't find him, couldn't touch him, so they sent the one man who always got the job done. They sent the Auditor. Hutch makes a deal, a dirty, quiet transaction, and lets the man walk. He takes the cash and walks away. A year later, they cross paths again, and Hutch sees what the money bought. A new home, a new life, a family. He feels something he hasn't felt in a long time. Jealousy, a hollow, sharp envy. Because Hutch's life is the opposite of that picture. Routine violence, an endless loop of killings, no peace, no warmth. He wants what he's watching now, a family, a reason to stop. So he does something almost human. He retires from the job that defined him. He erases the marks he left behind, wipes clean every trace of the old life, and tries to live small, quiet, ordinary. From the outside, it looks like a man trying to be normal. From the inside, it's someone who's been taught to survive by killing. But the man Hutch had been telling his story to, he's already dead. Hutch burns the house to ash, a clean, indiscriminate fire that eats every speck of evidence, then slips away in a stolen neighbor's car, moving like smoke. Julian, the real villain pulling strings, answers with something colder. He sends men to Hutch's father. David, quiet, ordinary David, is no helpless victim. He sits on his couch, shotgun across his knees, and when Julian's goons arrive, David greets them with 2 quick shells. They don't survive. He kills them with a calm that doesn't need words. It's a reminder. Violence in this world is a language anyone can speak. Hutch gets ready. Julian sets the stage, a warehouse rigged like a mechanical heart full of traps. He lures his enemies in one by one, confident the labyrinth will do the killing for him. But Hutch doesn't only cut down Julian's men, he tears through Julian's empire. Money, property, pride. He destroys them all. He hits where it hurts, the things Julian built to make himself untouchable. Then, in a move that feels both obscene and artistically precise, Hutch walks into Julian's pub, sits at a table, and eats. Quiet, ordinary, as if nothing is happening. Julian sees him and freezes, dumbfounded that anyone could be that bold. Everyone expects a showdown. They think the story will end there, with Hutch cornered and finished. They don't notice the thing under the table. Hutch is sitting on a proximity mine. One shot and the room becomes a funeral pyre. If anyone opens fire, the blast will take them all. It's a hostage of a different kind. One man's life tied to every other life in the room by a thread of steel and explosives. Hutch is daring them to decide, pull the trigger, and everyone dies. Or walk away and let him live. Hutch made a deal with Julian, an agreement to end the hostility between them. Hutch wanted none of the chaos. All he wanted was a simple, quiet life. And so he gave Julian a choice. He could either continue down the path of conflict, or they could both walk away and live life on their own terms. With that, Hutch took the mind in his hand and walked out. But he knew Julian wouldn't let him go that easily. Julian had things he couldn't say, plans he couldn't act on, because Hutch held the upper hand now. Still, as Hutch stepped out, Julian hadn't given up. In fact, he had sent his entire crew after him. What follows is a high-octane car chase, Hutch dodging bullets with impossible precision, narrowly surviving each attack until he leads them straight to a warehouse rigged with traps. But Hutch wasn't alone. Waiting there were his father and his brother, Harry, the same Harry he had been talking to over the radio all this time. His father, despite his age, looked thrilled, almost childlike, ready to jump back into action after so long. Julian's men stormed the warehouse, only to fall one by one into the deadly traps Hutch had meticulously set. And when the smoke cleared, Hutch, Harry, and their father, David, were hiding in a corner, out of ammo, cornered, and tense. The main villain, Julian, now faced them with an automatic gun, confident. But Hutch had a plan. He grabbed a specialized riot shield, bulletproof and reinforced, and attached the proximity mine to it. Sprinting toward Julian, Hutch braced as bullets flew, yet the shield held, and not a single shot hit him. Then, in one swift move, Hutch activated the proximity mine. The blast was instantaneous. Julian never saw it coming. And just like that, the threat was gone. Hutch, Harry, and David emerged from the wreckage, victorious. Proof that strategy, courage, and a little bit of calculated risk can turn the tide even against the deadliest of enemies. And of course, nothing happens to Hutch there, because he had that shield, the one that saved his life. And it's at that moment that the story's main villain meets their end. After that, Hutch's brother and father make a run for it, disappearing into the chaos, while the police swoop in and take Hutch into custody. During the interrogation, when they ask for his name, Hutch simply says, "Nobody." That was actually his code name. Moments later, the two officers receive a call, and it hits them. They've arrested the wrong person. You can see the fear in their eyes, crystal clear. Naturally, they release Hutch, and he walks free. Next, we see Hutch and his wife house hunting. Their old home must have been destroyed, so they're looking for a fresh start. But just then, Hutch's phone rings. And right away, we understand. Hutch has a new mission waiting for him. His wife isn't thrilled. She's known all along who he really is. And that's where the story ends. If you've seen John Wick, you'll probably notice plenty of similarities. Personally, I really enjoyed this film. I can't even begin to break down all the action sequences. So my suggestion? Go watch it yourself. Your time won't be wasted. This movie is packed with non-stop action. So, that's the story. I hope I explained it clearly for you. If I made any mistakes, please forgive me. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you're active on Facebook, Instagram, or Telegram, you can follow me there too. All the links are in the description. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.